Today I want to talk about being hungry for what's real and how humanity is likely on the cusp of a pendulum swing where virtual reality, artificial intelligence, and superficial creation won't quite cut it. So we're going to talk about being hungry for its real, as in get real or keeping it real, and why there is such an appetite for it. And we're trying to find out why we hunger for the soul. And it's because AI has no soul. And social media has no soul. And so what is it that we're hungering for? And what is real? And why is unsimulated humanity the most precious commodity? Stick around. If your life is empty, if you aren't getting much out of your social life because you're on social media, and you've lost the honeymoon phase of artificial intelligence already, you'll realize that those engaging with that leaves you feeling empty, or what you might call dead inside. That's because AI is a regurgitation of a regurgitation. It is junk food. It's already processed. It's ultra-processed food. The more you process food, the less nourishing it is. So if you process experience by condensing it into an image, it loses its fullness. It's kind of a photograph. It's like the difference between a photograph and a real experience. It loses its multidimensional, fulfilling capacity. And all forms of technology have outsourced what it means to be human. And the first technological advance was language. When we could use substitutes for the actual things. So words point to everything except what the word is talking about. And so that gives you a virtual reality right there. Text is a virtual reality. All text. Talking is a kind of reality that is void of any kind of nourishing, fulfilling, deep reality. And so you can think of all technology as more storytelling. Facebook, Instagram, and even YouTube are more storytelling. And storytelling is kind of a fib. It's an offshoot. And AI is the same thing. It's kind of a substitute or a stand-in for what's true and what's real. And so you've got to get into what they call AI slop. Like if you listen to AI music and you look at AI drawings and AI animation and videos, you notice it's got a hollow, kind of weird quality to it that you can't quite put your finger on. And this is what we're hungering for. We're hungering for that thing you can't quite put your finger on, and which we call the soul. And while some people believe they live a soulless existence, they don't. You can detect aliveness in a person. And sometimes it can come through even in a video like this. You can detect what's real. Struggling to say something like I just did. I wasn't struggling to say something. I was just getting out of my own way so that the words can be expressed. AI can't do that. AI doesn't have that blockage. AI doesn't struggle. Social media doesn't necessarily struggle. Social media doesn't have that improvisational feel to it where there's some ums and ahs and what do I say? What do I say? The inhibition. AI is not inhibited. AI doesn't have an ego. AI doesn't have quirkiness. AI doesn't have curiosity. Humans do. AI knows about curiosity. It can define curiosity, but it can't experience it. It can't. And if you think about curiosity, curiosity is what draws you in. It's a kind of ignorance. Curiosity is a bit like fear in that we kind of are afraid of something and we want to avoid it, but we're also curious about what it would be like. It's like watching a horror movie like this, right? You're kind of curious and you want to go to the haunted house. You want to know about death. You want to know about depth, but you're strangely afraid of it. You're afraid of yourself. So it is a paranoia that strangely draws you in. So what we're looking for is real. And it is found in the vertical dimension. Now, there's a physical vertical dimension, which is this way, and there's a physical horizontal dimension, but there's also a spiritual depth. There's a soul that is described as depth, but it doesn't have a direction. It's called going within, but you're not within the body. Many of us are captivated by the myth of the individual, that we live in a bag of skin. And it feels like there is I know it feels like there is a me inside this body, but there isn't. There isn't somebody looking out through two little holes called the eyes. There is just seeing. I see things, but I don't know who it is that's seeing it, because seeing is seeing, and you can't just separate what you see from seeing itself. It's all part of it, right? But so if you think about seeing, you don't know what's back there looking out. It doesn't, we don't know. We don't know what's there. I'm not in my head. But our sense of I is that, right here, and then the rest of me dangles from it. But that's not how it is, because I am in the context of an environment. And I am not able to exist outside of my environment. If I describe myself, I must also describe my pattern of behavior, and my pattern of behavior is related to what's outside of my skin. So I make you and you make me. And so what we want is we want to highlight what's real. And what's real is the inner life. Struggle and suffering and pain are part of that. And that's how we know we're real. We suffer. We struggle. We're stupid. We're ignorant. We're childlike and we're curious. AI can reflect those traits in a superficial way. But AI has never felt an orgasm, tasted a strawberry, cried at a funeral. Struggled to speak, been self-conscious, wondering about death. AI can speak about all that stuff. Social media can speak about all that stuff. So that's the superficial. It's all superficial. So we're hungering for something deeper. And so if you really want to get in on it, make a YouTube channel, unedited, just like this. Sit in front of your microphone. Contemplate. And be real. There's not much to me. My name is Ryan, but that doesn't tell you who I am. There's not much to me. I don't work. I'm a writer. I live alone. But that's not really who I am. That's a story. I want to talk about a deeper kind of knowing. And knowledge is one of those things that has depth. Here's a good example of what's real about knowledge, where you have to get real with it. Like, everybody knows they're going to die. We're all going to die. But it's not until you know you're going to die, like when somebody in a white coat and a stethoscope says you have 3 months to live, then you know you're going to die. That's a different kind of knowing. So superficially, you know, yeah, I'm going to die, until you are faced with it. You come to terms with it. And a term is a definition. Then you get into these weird double binds, like what's the definition of definition? What's the definition of the word term? I'm terminal, yet I can define it. And that unwraps the double bind. You can't outsmart yourself. You can't point to yourself. You can't take yourself out of the context. And so the individual is just a thread pretending not to be part of the rug. It's like the individual thread. It's like a cell in the body that wakes up and realizes, I'm all of this. I'm a cell, but all of it. And where the partial is, so is the whole. You see? So, where artificial, where unreal, where without, or where with absence, there's still some kind of presence. And in this world of duality, you're linked up. You're conjoined with it all. And so I'm everywhere, everything. And I simply haven't gotten in touch with my depth. And that's what's real with a capital R. What sort of transcends the temporary. It understands the levels of consciousness, the level of knowing. So the shallow to the deep. And the deeper you go, the more real things become. And what's unreal is the ego, the myth of the self, the myth of the individual piloting the body, and that you live in the body and what's outside of you is not you. And that there's a difference. You may think there's a difference between what's voluntary and involuntary and accidental and what's controlled, and it's not. You might consider all of it a controlled accident, a spontaneous destiny. These sound like paradoxical terms, but we live in a paradox. We live in this dualistic world that's not separated, but can where the part is smart enough to recognize it is connected. Let me tell you something that you may be becoming aware of. What's real is not separate from itself. What's real cannot be parted with, divided. It can appear that way, but you can't be separated from that which you really are. The eternal subject, your very presence, your undefinable knowledge, your non-linear knowledge. And when you discover your soul, or when your soul discovers you, one and the same, you realize the most important thing in the world is life itself. And it's absolutely true that other people are you, and how you treat them is of paramount importance, because it's how you love yourself. If you don't love yourself, you're going to treat people like shit, because you're treating yourself like shit. So what's real is unconditional love for who you are, not in story form, not outside of context, but within the margin. You exist within the margins of it all. I don't know how the illusion works. It's very convincing. But I know that I can't be separated from origin, the origin of origins. That I am just as indigenous. I'm the Big Bang. I'm the motion that got all this started, and I'm still connected to that explosive energy, where the singularity became the multiplicity that is me. I'm just as complicated as the universe, yet as one, self-encapsulated, bound together, indivisible, invisible. It's very difficult to point to what's real. But you know it. You know AI has no soul. It creates with no heart. Highly edited, superficial social media. Over-branded people hiding behind an ego so detectable. It's laughable. That the image of the person is greater than the person itself. No. I'm trying to get you to go deeper. To sense within yourself what's real. bare your soul without shame. And to realize that your existence is as innocent as a baby's. It didn't cost you anything. It still doesn't cost you anything. And there's nothing to gain, nothing to lose, nothing to prove. Yet, it's still kind of cool. You might say the universe is for shits and giggles. It's cool to be here, to be without a story, and to get in touch with something deeper than what seems superficial or artificial or soulless. You were hungry for something deeper, otherwise you wouldn't be listening to this. And so am I. Keep watching my channel and we'll keep exploring how to point to this. And once it merges and becomes who you are, you wonder why you were hungry for anything else when you were completely satisfied, fulfilled, and complete. You are real. All of it's real. But the depth seems truer. My name is Ryan. I hope you enjoyed these insights. Please check out my blog, mymorningmotivator.com, or one of my books on Amazon. And thank you for watching.